Welcome to PacWest Magazine, the radio show. The show about our exciting Pacific West Conference. The PacWest is made up of NCAA Division II universities from Arizona and Utah to California and Hawaii. It's the most beautiful and diverse athletic conference in the entire NCAA. This is Commissioner Bob Hogue, inviting you to join our outstanding coaches, student-athletes, and administrators as we talk about the great excitement in the PacWest. Now here's Assistant Commissioner Tom Camillo, live from our studios in Santan, Arizona.
All righty, and you are listening to KQCK radio station. And we have Tom DiCamillo right now out in Newport Beach. Tom, are we with you?
Joe, how you doing this morning or this afternoon?
Fantastic. It's great to hear you.
I know we are at the, I am live actually from Newport Beach, California. We are at the Pacific West Conference meetings. This is where our home office is located. And I know joining us is Scott Lowe, the multifaceted Scott Lowe from BYU Hawaii. Scott, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you, Tom. It's good to be with you.
It's Scott's he's the sports information director. He's the head softball coach. He's at BYU Hawaii, which is located along the north shore of Oahu and Laie. And Scott, we wanted to have you on today to talk about you a little bit about what you do. You're a long time in the field of both sports information and your coaching, but also about BYU Hawaii itself and about the institution and its athletic programs. And let's talk a little bit. This year, you guys, is this your second or third year coaching the softball team?
This is my third year coaching the softball team.
And how did you guys, this year you started to see improvement. I know you had some recruits in, and you had to be happy with the direction that the program's taking.
Well, yes, we actually won as many games this year as we have in the last 2 years combined, and we did it starting 6 freshmen most of the year. So that's a really good sign. As you know, the PacWest Conference is a very tough conference when it comes to softball, but we feel that we improved and we're able to compete with pretty much everybody. And we're looking forward to continuing to improve in the coming years.
It's when you play in a conference that had just recently in Hawaii Pacific winning the national championship just a couple of years ago, does that help in recruiting to the conference when you look at the level of softball that's being played?
Well, I think it does. I think it helps in all sports. If you have a very competitive conference and you have a strong possibility of sending teams to postseason play and a good reputation, that helps conference-wide. It helps all the teams.
We're talking to Scott Lowe live from Laie, Hawaii, on the island of Oahu, and Scott is the head softball coach. He's also the sports information director, and has a Scott. What do you all do? What do you do at BYU? Responsibilities there.
I'm not sure your program's long enough for that, Tom, but you didn't mention that I'm also the assistant athletic director in charge of game management for all the sports. So, as a sports information director, I'm responsible for interacting with the media and sending out press releases. I'm responsible for all the statistics. As associate AAD, I'm responsible for game management for all of our sports, for all of our home games. So I'm what's called the administrator in charge at each event, and that covers everything from crowd control to making sure the scoreboard's working and that there's electricity, making sure the bathrooms are clean. The whole shooting match. And then, of course, as head softball coach, that entails a lot of time with recruiting. Practices, getting teams ready, travel arrangements. It's a busy life.
You obviously have your hands full. For those that don't know what the BYU Hawaii is, can you talk about the school? Because obviously a lot of people are probably familiar with the BYU up in Provo, Utah, but talk about what BYU Hawaii is, what the campus is like, its mission, how it was founded, where it's located.
Well, BYU Hawaii is operated, as is, the main campus of Brigham Young University, by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And it was founded in 1955 by President David O. McKay, who was president of the church at that time. He had envisioned a school here since way back in the early part of the 1900s when he visited Laie and saw a flag-raising ceremony at the elementary school in which children from all over the Pacific Rim participated. And he envisioned a school at that time that would educate students from all over the world, particularly the Pacific Rim, Asia, and the Polynesian nations. And so BYU Hawaii was founded in 1955 as an international emphasis school. And at this time, we have over 50% of our student body are international students, which is the highest percentage of any university in the nation.
Wow.
And so we educate people from all over the world, and it's a real cultural happening here all the time at BYU Hawaii.
Do you know how many nations are represented by that student population?
Well, we have a flag circle of 60 flags, and it's always full, and they have to rotate them. There are well over 70 nations represented at BYU Hawaii, and that's in a student body of only 2,500. Although
Wow.
the school does have plans for growth, we plan to expand to around 5,000 students, so we're going to double our size over the next several years.
Well, and that would obviously require building additional buildings.
Yes, in fact, we just started some building projects. We're building a new multi-use building right now, and we've also started on some new dorms. So there will be quite a bit of building going. There's 3 phases of construction to take place, and in fact, I'm happy to say that a new softball field is included in one of those phases of construction. So we'll get in addition to some new buildings, we'll get some new athletic facilities.
Wow, that's also. Can you kind of describe what the campus? I've been on the campus, but for those that don't know, it is really a beautiful location.
Well, it is. We're on what's called the North Shore, actually the eastern side of Oahu, towards the north, in a community of a little over 6,000 people, and this campus is located almost a stone's throw from some of the most beautiful beaches in the world. It's about a 1.5 block walk. You'd have to have a good arm, but you might be able to throw a stone that far. And we're also next to the Polynesian Cultural Center, which is an institution that is the number 1 paid tourist attraction in Hawaii and has a symbiotic relationship with BYU Hawaii. A number of our international students work there and perform there, and it helps pay for their education. And we're a stone's throw also from beautiful mountains. In fact, if you ever played at our softball field, you'd see that we have the Ko'olau Range as a backdrop where there are hiking trails and waterfalls, and this is just a gorgeous place to be. The campus is very green and very well maintained, and it's a beautiful spot.
Talk a little bit more about the Polynesian Cultural Center. It is what it exactly is and how it came about. I mean, I was fortunate enough to visit it last year, and I actually have a friend of mine that just got back from being there last week, and it's an amazing facility to attend.
Well, it really is, and it had its genesis in some fundraising efforts and some dancing that was performed to try to help raise funds initially to build a church building here. But then also in the early 70s, they discovered that, they might have an idea here of bringing people out here to the North Shore, increasing tourism, and also helping to fund students at BYU Hawaii. And so they started out with just kind of a dance show, and then they started building villages, and it has a series of villages representing a number of the Polynesian nations, such as Samoa, Tahiti, Fiji, Tonga, of course, Hawaii, New Zealand. And they put on shows every day. There are village shows. There are cultural demonstrations. There's a night show that's kind of an extravaganza. There's luau's. It's an all-day experience. In fact, you can't see the PCC, as we call it, in just one day. And it's just a fantastic place to be. And it has 2 purposes. One is to preserve and maintain Polynesian culture and to display it in a way that people can learn something about it, so it's a learning experience. And then also, as I said, to support students at BYU Hawaii and provide an education for a number of people that couldn't afford it otherwise.
When I likened it to kind of a smaller version of Epcot, where you go to the different villages, the different kind of countries, and kind of get that flavor of the culture. And it's really a fascinating place. It's a place where you go. It's a fun event, but you go and you learn, and it's pretty exciting. When some of the teams come to play at BYU Hawaii, do some of the visiting schools, do they ever take advantage of going to that?
Oh, yes. We frequently have teams that want to go there. In fact, we've occasionally even moved up the playing times for our softball doubleheaders to accommodate a team going over to eat at the luau and then go to the night show. Some of them just do that part of it. Some of them come and take a whole day if they have a day free while they're on the island, and it's just a great experience. We've never had anyone come away from it saying that they didn't enjoy the Polynesian Cultural Center.
So, now, in terms of recruiting, when you look at where geographically located, obviously in Hawaii, and the type of makeup of the school, where you have students from more than 70 countries, your athletic programs, do you draw student athletes from all over the world?
We do in some sports more than others, but it's difficult to recruit internationally because you kind of have to have somebody that you know or develop a series of contacts in a particular nation in order to recruit effectively in that area. And some of our coaches have done that well; others have not done it as much, and some are trying to do it. I've been coaching the softball team just 3 years, and I'm trying to set up some relationships to do that. But some of our sports, such as basketball, we had Jet Chang from Taiwan this past year, who was an All-American, and prior to that, we had Marcus Whippy from Fiji, who was an All-American, and we've had a number of players come from Asia and the Polynesian surroundings for the basketball team. Our women's tennis team does that very effectively, and our volleyball team currently has 3 players from Taiwan who are leading the team. And so we do recruit a bit internationally, but interestingly enough, our athletic population actually has lower than 50% international students. The student body as a whole has a higher percentage of international students than does the athletic program.
Wow, that's what sports does BYU Hawaii offer?
Well, we have 11 sports right now. 10 of them are PacWest conference sports. We have men's and women's cross country, men's and women's basketball, men's and women's tennis, and then we have men's tennis, women's volleyball, and women's softball.
So then next year, men's tennis becomes part of the PacWest. So
right. So then we'll have all 11 of our sports will be PacWest sports as of next year.
How important are athletics in the fabric of the institution? It seems like you guys get great support, especially I notice when basketball comes to, say, the Valley, the Phoenix area, and you play Grand Canyon, a lot of the LDS community will come out and support BYU Hawaii. You'll see the arena get filled up pretty nicely at Grand Canyon. It seems like it's very much in the culture of the institution.
Well, we do draw well on the road, especially. We seem to be probably as good a draw as anyone in the conference, if not the best road draw when we travel, because we do get the LDS community come out, and sometimes we get the international community if they know that we have international athletes. I know that, for instance, when our basketball team played, we had media from Taiwan and people from Taiwan that wanted to watch him play. And at home, it's interesting. We have great support in that in a small town of only 6,500 people, there's not a lot going on. There aren't the same distractions that you have, say, if we were in Los Angeles. And so as a Division II school, we do draw pretty well, particularly for our women's volleyball and for basketball and for soccer. But we also have the unique situation that being in Hawaii, so many people are so active and do things outdoors that people here are participatory more than they are fans in terms of, just sitting and watching. They'd rather be out surfing or swimming, and so that kind of balances the fact that, would only show in town. And in terms of our student body, we find that our mainland students from the United States are very, very much into the college sports scene. But we sometimes don't get as many of our international students out to our events as we would like. It depends on if someone from their country is playing. Because the international students did not grow up with a high school sports program that the school spirit revolved around. And so we work on that, and we invite clubs. We have clubs for various groups like the Tongan Club, the Samoan Club, and we'll invite them out as a group, and then we have a lot of fun when we get the clubs to come out.
Yeah, that's interesting. It must make for a great, not just a student athlete experience, but a student experience to be able to go to a university and experience people from more than 70 different countries.
Oh, it really is. This is, like I said, it's a cultural feast around here. We have a student culture night that it fills our Cannon Activities Center pretty much and just draws huge crowds where each of the clubs on campus and each of the cultural groups put on cultural displays of music, singing, dancing, whatever. And we have international food fests on a regular basis throughout this academic year where the students will prepare meals from their native countries and the entire community comes, and it's all done outside in what we call our little circle. And so a lot of cultural activities go on all the time, and it's just an amazing cultural feast.
Is it, as an employee, especially in the athletic department, but as an employee, do you get an opportunity, obviously, to experience the same as the students in the community, to get that sort of diverse culture that of the students? Do you get a chance to take advantage of that opportunity?
Oh, yes, very much so. And not just the employees, but our families. My family has learned so much. I have 7 children, as you know, Tom, and it's been a fantastic experience for them to be living in a place like this and to be associated with a campus like this. They have learned so much, and I think it gives them a great appreciation of people all around the world.
Let's talk a little bit about the athletic programs, and obviously two of the ones that have had a lot of success nationally. Your women's tennis program this year reached the national championship and finished as a runner-up, and your men's basketball team last year got an opportunity to play on CBS, and they finished as the runner-up in the national championship. The tournament, obviously Dave Porter and the women's tennis program has been the dominant team, not just in the conference, but in the West region for years and years now. What makes those two programs, how come those two specific programs have really kind of flourished the last couple of years?
Well, my answer to that question is actually something that I asked Wilfred Navalta, our longtime volleyball coach, when I first got here. Coach Navalta has won 10 national titles over the years, yeah. And I asked him what was the key to having a successful program, and he said there are 3 keys to a successful program, and he said those keys are recruiting, and recruiting. And that's obviously a big key, but of course it's also good coaching. I have to commend Coach Porter and Coach Wagner. The 2 coaches you're talking about there. They're very good people. They're very good coaches, and they're very good recruiters. And so they continually maintain a good program. And once you get a good program going, it doesn't just sustain itself, but it helps to have that kind of a reputation. You know, it helps to attract athletes. But you still have to work at it and go out and get the players. And Coach Porter is tireless in his recruiting and in his efforts with the team. He's just a fantastic coach. And so is Coach Wagner. You know, they bring in great players. They bring in great assistant coaches. And they bring in really good kids who not only, are good players, but they're good character people. And it really makes for a nice program. And they're a delight to work with, you know, when you get that kind of kids.
It's funny because I called Dave Porter and I asked him if he'd be available to be on the show last week, and he was off to Japan en route to Hong Kong. I believe is where he was going. I think he was recruiting.
Well, he's not only recruiting, but he does clinics. Coach Porter does tennis clinics and instruction all over the world. And we're very fortunate to have a coach of his stature at a Division II school, because he's known internationally through tennis circles. He's been president of the U.S. Professional Tennis Association, and he's here and there everywhere. His travel itinerary. I'd love to have his frequent flyer miles. You know, his travel itinerary is amazing. It's if anybody ever gets a chance and you're on the island of Oahu, go up to the North Shore and visit BYU Hawaii. It's where Honolulu, where Chaminade and Hawaii Pacific are both in the Honolulu area, which is that's kind of the city side. BYU Hawaii is a little more residential when you come into it, and it's a beautiful campus. All three campuses are beautiful, but BYU Hawaii up on the North Shore gives you, with the Polynesian Cultural Center and their athletic programs and their student body, it's just a really neat place to go visit. And Scott, you guys do a tremendous job there. We appreciate you joining us on the show today. Well, thanks, Tom. I appreciate it, and appreciate all the work you do for the PacWest.
I appreciate it, and we will see you in a couple of weeks at COSIDA.
All right.
Scott Lowe, the Sports Information Director / all everything at BYU Hawaii. Joe, I will be back in the studio next Thursday, and for the PacWest Magazine radio show, and we'll continue all summer long, and we'll start our features on the 4 new schools joining the PacWest, and their athletic directors will join us each week on the program. So
awesome.
For Joe Carreiro, I'm Tom DiCamillo. We'll catch you next week on PacWest Radio.
Got pain? Call Dr. Wayne. Chiropractic care may be your answer. Queen Creek Back Care. Located in Queen Creek on 20231 East Ocotillo Road on the backside